Assalamualaikum and good day. My name is Nur Amira Nadiana, the first presenter of the Sunflower Group. In this presentation, my groupmates and I will present the issues that we have found in the 3 banks that we have studied on. This is the content of the presentation. I will present on the introduction and background, and after that, the research objectives of this paper. Next part of the presentation will be on research methods, findings, conclusion, and recommendations that we would like to suggest. First and foremost, introduction and background. We were given the chance to pick our own banks that we would like to make comparison of, which consist of 2 Islamic banks in Malaysia and 1 foreign Islamic bank. The 3 banks that we have researched on are Aagifi Islamic Bank, Aagifi Islamic Bank, and also Kuwait Finance House. The reason of this study is to examine the Sharia governance and corporate governance in the Islamic banks. Other than that, we were assigned to find if there were any similarities and differences between the different Islamic banks. Moving on, the research objectives. The research objectives of this research paper includes to examine the effectiveness of the governance standards implemented. Secondly, to assess the significance of the issues that have risen. Lastly, to provide recommendations that can overcome the issues. Among the issues that we have found was, first, is regarding the lack of independence in the board of directors and Sharia committee. Next is the lack of competency of the Sharia committee. Lastly, lack of competent Sharia auditors. Now we will proceed with the next presenter to discuss on the research method.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. My name is Ahnan. I'll be the second presenter for today. Firstly, I'll be talking about the research methods used in our study. So, what we majorly did was we compared the annual reports of the 3 Islamic banks chosen to see if they have adopted the regulations set by the central banks of each of the country that they operate in. So we referred to Bank Negara Malaysia's Corporate Governance Policy Document, Sharia Governance Framework, and Sharia Advisory Council. We referred to Central Bank of Kuwait's Corporate Governance Instructions. We referred to the annual reports of the 3 Islamic banks chosen, which are RHB Islamic Bank, Aagifi Islamic Bank, and also Kuwait Finance House. And we referred to other sources such as EUP standards, journal articles, websites, and talks for additional insights. Moving on to the next segment, which is the highlights of the main findings of our study, and I'll be touching about the lack of independence of the board of directors. From our findings, we found out that there are no specific issues regarding board independence. This is because all 3 Islamic banks that we have chosen have abided by the corporate governance requirements set by both countries' central banks. But we found out that Kuwait Finance House has very little number of independent directors. As you can see on the slide, only 2 independent directors out of 12 board members. And we also found out that Aagifi Islamic Bank has 33% of its directors serving for more than 9 years. And we think that this can be a threat to independence as well. Kuwait Finance House did not actually disclose any information regarding the number of years that the directors have served in the board. And that's why we could not provide much analysis in terms of their independence in regards to their board tenure.
My name is Nur Husna. Next is the issue of lack of independence in the Sharia Committee. We have decided to use these criteria to compare the independence of Sharia Committee between the banks. As you can see, Aagifi Bank has the lowest number of Sharia Committee appointment with the maximum of 2 Sharia Committee positions, while RHB Islamic Bank has the most number of appointments, where one of the directors has 7 Sharia Committee appointments in other companies. This may affect his independence and decision-making. The director may be influenced by information from other companies and act on his own best interests. Next, higher financial reliance will lead to lower independence. Aagifi Islamic Bank has the lowest remuneration, while Kuwait Finance House remuneration is not available in their annual report. This may be to the level of remuneration, which may lead to the risk of threats to independence. Besides that, Kuwait Finance House has the longest Sharia Committee tenure, which is 19 years. This may cause conflict of interest and threat to their independence, as they have been in the company for a long period of time. For personal character and competency, there is no issue as the nomination committee has followed the requirements in selecting the Sharia committee members. Lastly, there is less risk of threat to independence when there is a board engagement between the board of directors and Sharia committee. So, Afin Islamic Bank has the least risk in lack of independence, while Kuwait Finance House has the most risk of lack of independence of its Sharia committee.
Assalamualaikum, my name is Nurul Sakinah. In this slide, I will talk about our finding in the competency of Syariah Committee in the three banks. Firstly, according to SGF Bank Negara, the members should have a knowledge in finance, particularly in Islamic finance, with addition of Sharia knowledge. In addition, the members should have a qualification at least in a bachelor degree in Sharia Usul Fiqh or Fiqh Muamalat and strong knowledge in Sharia, especially regarding to finance. Thus, the two banks that operate according to Bank Negara Malaysia, which are Afin and RHB, has fulfilled the requirement. For the chairman Sharia Committee in RHB, Dr. Ghazali bin Jaafar, hold PhD in Islamic jurisprudence with expertise in Islamic legal system, Usul Fiqh and Fiqh Muamalat. Under Afin Bank, Associate Professor Dr. Said also hold a PhD in Usul Fiqh Sharia. The requirement on Aagifi is quite different as the member not necessarily need to specialize in Fiqh al-Muamalat. However, it emphasizes on the expertise in Islamic financial institution with knowledge of Fiqh Muamalat. It being shown in the Kuwait Sharia Advisory Board Chairman Sheikh Professor Dr. Muhammad Abdul Razak, which he hold PhD, Master and Bachelor in Islamic Jurisprudence, and he also the members of Aagifi. Thus, we can agree that the Sharia Committee in the three banks is competent and we can rely on their fatwa and decision.
Assalamu alaikum. This part I'll be discussing the findings on Sharia auditing, competency of the performance of Sharia auditing. For the three banks, all three perform Sharia auditing under internal auditing, or to be specific, group internal auditing. Whereas only Kuwait Finance House has external auditor. And for the internal auditors, as for their competency and their Sharia background, there was no information disclosed pertaining that matter. Hence, it will not be easy to conclude whether or not they're qualified to provide assurance services on the products and services and operations in general. This confirms somehow the content of the literature review or the articles that we base our case on.
Hi, my name is Nur Atira and I will continue with recommendations and conclusion.
Firstly, in terms of board independence issues, additional measures can be taken to strengthen the board's independence. For Afin Islamic Bank, the limitation of the board's tenure up to 9 years should be upheld and strictly followed by the management, as currently 33% of its directors have served for more than 9 years. As for Kuwait Finance House Bank, they should appoint more independent directors to serve the board as a way to strengthen the board's independence. Furthermore, KFH should also disclose the board tenure of each member in their annual report to ensure more transparency can be made by the Islamic Bank. Secondly, with regards to the Sharia governance issue, the central bank needs to take necessary action in providing guidelines pertaining to the remuneration of the Sharia committee. The guideline is to provide a range of standard remuneration to SC members, which must be strictly supervised by the central bank. In terms of SC's tenure, the SGPD 2019 highlights that the SC members must not serve the same IFI for more than 9 years, but this policy will be applicable in April 2023. Even so, it is recommended for Afin Bank to comply with this policy. On the other hand, for KFH Bank, the General Assembly of the bank should disclose the FSSB's remuneration amount in their annual report for more transparency. Last but not least, with regards to the absence of Sharia audit information, the Islamic Bank should take initiative to provide detailed disclosure of Sharia auditors, such as their full profile to evaluate the competency of the Sharia auditor. Apart from that, in Malaysia, the required courses and adequate training need to be provided to develop competent Sharia auditor. Moreover, since the Sharia audit function was assigned under group internal audit, these Islamic banks could also engage with external auditor to perform the Sharia audit function. In conclusion, it cannot be denied that Malaysia and Kuwait are at the forefront in terms of the development of Islamic banking and finance. However, additional measures need to be taken to ensure the effectiveness and compliance of the IFIs with Sharia standards.
That's all from us. Thank you.